There's her truck piled up against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that, you know, and good grief. And no way to even know, couldn't tell it was black ice out there. That's an easy one. Couldn't see it.
I've actually had a CH Highway Patrol and a gentleman.
Get them all straightened out.
Lost the black guys. I actually from the airport. I lost a friend sleeping in the back seat, laying down with no seatbelt. She went out the back hatch. Young woman, young nurse, had it. Never get that. In fact, that was New Year's Day. It was going to Reno with some friends to do what young people do, and they were coming home.
Yeah, again, it just going. I don't know.
Okay. It's both. It's both. It's before? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You scared me for a minute. No, I'm so sorry. I scared myself. I was like, how did we miss that? Well, it's right here.
Possibly going to be.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought that was either or.
Thank you. You gave me a heart attack.
Thank you. Okay. I thought it was either or.
Well, I had a heart attack. I was like,
Okay.
no, that's good.
Yeah, he's been around a minute. He's kind of a mercenary and stuff like that. He was one of those guys. He's retired Marine Corps. He was a sniper, all that kind of stuff. But he was what they call dignitary protection. So those guys for the last 10 years has been over the Middle East. There's squads moving people from one area to another. It's a good breed. Yeah, so he does for a living.
Half of
Better man than me.
Look, I want him as my neighbor, actually.
I'm quiet.
I think it just says half the committee has to be not trustees and not school board, no, teachers.
Yeah.
I feel like
But the other people have to.
I think it says have to be parents. You don't have to be a parent to be on, to be one of the patrons. So like, yes, you could have however many patrons, half of the number of patrons.
At this point, I'm not going
have
to,
to
it'll
be
be
a parent.
all night then, if I do. And then I'll pay for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I could drink
A membership of at least
50
one
years
half
later, all
of
that
which is
numbers.
persons
I
who
don't
are
know
not
why I
public
do
educators
that.
or school trustees and shall include parents of a child or children attending a school or school.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Move on to consent. Public comment.
Ken Frere.
Thank you. Father, we'd like to come before you tonight and just seek your favor and your face on the school district, on the schools in this district. God, that you would write in protection over the schools in this district, over all the kids on the way to school, at school, going home from school. God, you'd watch over them. Father, you protect them from anything that wants to come against them mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, or morally. Father God, we ask you to write in protection over these kids. We ask you to give wisdom to the staff, to the teachers, to the administration. God, that your wisdom would come forth. God, not the wisdom of men, but the wisdom of God. Because it's a powerful thing. And God, we know that you gave your only son, born of a woman, that he would grow up and die on a cross that we might be forgiven. And that all that would come to him would not perish, but have everlasting life. And you knew that you didn't send your son into the world to condemn the world, but that through him, the world would be saved. And so, Father, tonight I don't care about power, politics, or position. I seek the grace of God on this meeting, the grace of God that is the authority and the wisdom and the power of your love. And we thank you now. Amen.
Amen.
Marvin, Curriculum Selection Committee.
Okay, thank you. I see that materials are on the agenda, and I would just like to make a brief comment. One of the things that I've observed in 42 years working in the corporate world is that's one of the last bastions of the feudal system. And that's where people, rather than being elected into certain roles or being randomly selected for certain roles, they're selected They're chosen for their ability, their talent, their availability. And the reason for that is because corporations are in business to make a profit. They are trying to deliver whatever it is they deliver, whether it's a product or service, at a fast delivery time, with a reasonable cost, and with the kinds of features that they expect their user base to want. And so with that in mind, I would suggest and recommend to the folks who are going to be choosing folks to work on the curriculum committee to use something similar. Choose people for their talent, choose people for their drive. Don't just pick names out of a hat, because when you do that, it's like Forrest Gump said, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Barry Hillsdale.
Hello. So Vladimir Lenin once said, "Give me 4 years to teach the children, and the seed I have sown shall never be uprooted." Education is one of the most important aspects of a free society. A good teacher or educational system can inspire generations to greatness. Conversely, a bad system can wipe out a society within a generation. All too often in American education, our faults and failings take center stage without giving credit to the many contributions our founding fathers and our American way of life have made to the world. The American Revolution ignited a firestorm in which personal freedom and representative democracy spread and shaped Western civilization. The 1776 curriculum from Hillsdale College and the supplementary materials for PragerU seek to instill the values of freedom and self-determination in students, to inspire them to take pride in the United States of America and our historical values. Our history is replete with both heroes and villains, triumph and tragedy, but the overall contribution that the U.S. has made to the world is a positive one. Hillsdale College was founded by abolitionist Baptists in 1844 and was the first American college to prohibit discrimination based on race, religion, or sex. Hillsdale's mission is to provide patriotic education in the next generation, and as such has developed free curricula for use in K-12 schools, offering a firm grounding in civic virtue. PragerU provides free supplementary materials to be used in conjunction with pre-existing curricula. As a parent, I know full well how awesome our district's teachers are. I have seen firsthand how caring and dedicated they are to their students. However, they need the correct tools to teach our children to love our country. Many of the commercially available curricula focuses too much on DEI and America's mistakes, making the lessons more about imparting a progressive worldview than about academics. In a county that voted roughly 82% conservative, these values do not reflect the will of the community. I urge you to approve these programs and prove we do in fact have local control. That's a letter to the editor I wrote to the Idaho County Free Press. I was encouraged by a couple people to go ahead and read it here at this meeting. The other day, I was watching a movie with my 13-year-old son, and I made kind of a joke about Benjamin Franklin, and he didn't get it because he said he didn't know who Benjamin Franklin was. My son's a very smart kid. He's getting all A's and B's currently. That changes, as the year goes through. I kind of took that as kind of partially a personal failing too, and I've decided to take it upon myself to teach him a little bit more about our history and our American values. I mean, he already knows the basics, and I know it's not because of the teachers, because we've had to be more involved in our son's education than most parents probably have, and I've seen firsthand how great all of the teachers that he's ever had have been. Is that my 3 minutes?
Yeah, 30
You can
seconds.
finish.
Finish up.
Anyway, I think it's more a systemic issue and something that we should be looking at. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wood.
Tom, curriculum?
Yes, ma'am. Tom Riley. And this is in reference to the curriculum also. Proposed curriculum. Did you know that the original 13 colonies had their own state constitutions? 13 out of 13 had a declaration of faith in their original constitutions, stating, "I confess Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior." 53 55 out of 56 of the original signers of the Declaration, which we have copies up on the wall, were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. English common law, which is the basis of our American system of justice, is an outgrowth of the scriptures. It was heavily influenced by William Blackstone, a professing Christian. Three principles of common law: presumption of innocence, due process, and jury of your peers, are all biblical principles and subordinate to the ultimate biblical principle that in the administration of justice, one shall not favor the rich over the poor. That's called blind justice, which is in Leviticus 19 in the Old Testament. The principle of human equality comes from the Bible. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. That is in Galatians 3:28. The abolition movement in the 19th century was spearheaded by Christian clergymen who were commonly referred to as the Black Militia as a result of their clothing. God is mentioned 4 times in the Declaration, and the last paragraph reads as a prayer. Quote, "We appeal to the supreme judge of the universe." Who is the judge of the universe? In establishing our Constitution, the book of Deuteronomy was the most referenced source, religious or non-religious, of our founders, more than Montesquieu, Locke, or even Blackstone. Finally, let's review what our founders actually said. Among their thousands of utterances, I will quote but one by John Adams. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And I said all of that to say this. How many of our school children, let alone adults in this room, know these facts of our American history? I'd venture to say very few. Whether one believes in the persons of the Bible or not, and we're free to believe or not believe, this is America. It is undeniable that the principles of the Bible are the bedrock that our governmental and civic institutions are built upon. And we should be thankful, whether we're believers or not, that they are. Because if our freedoms came from man and not from God, they could be revoked at any time, depending on the whims of the mob.
And wrap this up a little bit.
That is why we are a republic and not a democracy. We owe it to posterity to teach these facts and augment our curriculum with those details and part review. I believe we'll go a long way toward accomplishing this. Thank you.
Read letter to editor for a friend, info to become a new school board member.
I first want to know if we want to try to get to be a school board member when the deconsolidation happens, if it happens, how do we do that? Who do we write to?
There's,
I can answer
that.
I don't know. I don't know.
You work with your county clerk. It's the same process as if you were going to be the city council, if you lived in the city, or a commissioner. So there's an application that you fill out, and there are some specific deadlines. I can't speak tonight. So the county clerk runs that.
Thank you.
And she may direct you to someone else in their office, but that's where you'd start.
Okay. All right. Second, I want to read a letter that was written by Sanford Stobbs on January 1st, 2025 to the Idaho County Free Press. He was unable to come tonight and asked that this letter be read. Regarding Lynette Brinker's recent letter to the editor, she said, "It is critical our children learn the factual history of the U.S., knowing their ancestors practiced genocide towards First Nation people, held slaves, practiced racism against people of color and women, will support their knowledge and ability to understand our history and where we are as a nation today. Is the purpose of teaching history to catalog and magnify all our past faults? Did America do anything right? Is it constructive to teach only the most negative aspects of your nation? Let's not kid ourselves. America is far from a perfect nation, but nor has any nation ever been so. Rome had slaves and burnt Christians on sticks for moonlighting. South Africa placed tires around the disfavored and lit them on fire. Germans, well, we all have heard about that enough times, haven't we? The reason we teach history is so we don't repeat it. The cause of a lot of our problems is simply individual greed, envy, selfishness, and shallow thinking that pursues utopian dogma with violence and the idea that the end justifies the means. This is the natural inclination of people without proper moral education and a working justice system to protect the innocent and punish the guilty. DEI and racist equality of outcome education promote victimhood, envy, and injustice. Hillsdale College, among many other independent and Christian-based institutions that have not yet been subverted into centers for social engineering and political programming, teaches the core idea that made America relatively great. We are now in the third and fourth generation of society taught without the simple and key concept that we are created by God, and thus our values as individuals is not set by any government or person, or by our wealth or power, or race or gender, etc., but by the Creator Himself. This simple concept is what stops tyranny and promotes self-control and moral conscience, which allows people to govern themselves so they can be free, happy, and prosperous. America is near civil war and self-destruction because an immoral populace cannot be free or happy. Our education system is the main culprit in getting us here. Please, let's change this course. Sanford stop. Thank you.
Valerie, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to the board members, Dee and John and Larry, for showing up today. The third grade at Jen's had a really great event, our Roman Wax Museum as we called it, after we had done a lot of studying, a lot of research, a lot of work with those kiddos. They did so much and they did amazing. And it was really impactful that you guys came. I know that those students may not have known who you were in relation to them, but the staff did and the community did. I had a lot of people come up and be like, did you see who's here? Did you see them here? They're here, they're in our school. And tell me how much it meant to them that the people who are supposed to be here to represent them came into our building and were able to see the great things that are going on and showed your support there. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew just how much it did really mean to our staff and to the community members who saw you guys there. So thank you so very much for coming. And I know that schedules may not work out, and I know Lacey, you are not up here, and that would be a long way to come up. So I get it, and I appreciate that you guys were there because it really did actually make an impact. So thank you.
That's cool. Mr. Chairman, can I speak real quick?
Yeah, it was fun. That was great.
It was outstanding today, and we're grateful for the invite. Like I think that's what's going on is people aren't inviting us, and we're not really feeling welcome. I think we'd be there more if we were notified of more of those events. So please spread the word, and we'll try to make them. Thank you.
Cam, curriculum? Cam, curriculum?
I want to thank Tracy for checking out the minutes in the board meeting 2 months ago when I spoke in favor of Prager, you, and Hillsdale. I got eliminated from the free press somehow, and I was worried that I wasn't on the minutes, but I am. My name is Cam Lucas. I live in Harpster. I am a precinct committeeman for the Republican Party, and you can castigate me for that. I have 3 granddaughters in the public school system here, and so I'm speaking on their behalf on what I wish for them. When I see the decline in the testing scores over the last 50 years, where our nation has been at the top and now is very close to middle toward the bottom. I want more for my grandchildren. I want them to be higher in the nations of the earth in their educational experience. There are some cardinal values that I just read about in a book by C.S. Lewis that are, I think, principally clean. Prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. Now, when I look at the websites for Hillsdale or PragerU and look at their items that they have made for education for children and for adults, I see the virtues that are important held up. I also see accurate history, not glossing over our bad points that we have had, but actually history and applauding those who were heroes and not trying to tear America down. I also see a little more correct history from what I've read. I know there's a lot of history that's trying to be rewritten so that it lines up with the DEI outfit. And I just would like to put a plug in for PragerU and Hillsdale.
Is that it? Moving on to consent agenda, approval of minutes. Any corrections or anything?
Bill, the whole nine yards.
What's that?
The whole entire consent.
Oh, want to approve the entire consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the entire consent agenda.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Good. All in favor? Aye. Moving on. Reports, superintendent.
First of all, I'm sure you noticed that the principals aren't on the list, but the way the calendar fell, their reports would be reflective of 7 days of school, and so they asked to be excused from this meeting, and they'll return in February. As far as my report, again, I'm going to go right back to my 3 goals. I told you I was going to do that the whole year, and that's where I'm staying. And the first one is like a huge celebration for me because number one thing is to put the joy back into learning, teaching, and living in Mountain View School District. And I attended the Region 2 Superintendent's Conference or meeting yesterday. That's all of the superintendents in Region 2, so Moscow to Riggins. And I was thrilled when a fellow superintendent said, "Wow, Alyssa, Mountain View's only about good news in the paper." And that happened without me feeding into that. And so it was really awesome. So yay, I think things are feeling positive in the district, and I think that staff and people are starting to feel that too. And that has been my number 1 goal. Number 2 is to develop procedures, practices, and promote consistency. Okay, I'm rocking a few boats with this and maybe ruffling a few feathers, but we just really need to do it. What we worked on this month is clarifying the open enrollment because our board policy says those need to go out and be signed in February. So worked on that with my building principals, and they'll be getting those open enrollment applications out soon. And then we also are working on, sorry for this term, it's a little crude, but I'm not a believer in keeping the crap. And so we've talked about getting in our closets, finding things that are still of use to someone but not to us, and getting rid of that because our storage rooms are full, and they're full of things that we no longer have a use for, but somebody may. And the process for getting rid of that is the surplus auction, which is an agenda item later on. And then also working on IDLA courses, when we will offer an IDLA course and pay for it. So if it's because somebody has a conflict at our smaller schools and they can't get junior English and junior history in the same, that's not a great example, in the same period, we can offer an IDLA so that they can take it at a different hour, and then we pay for that. We have some funds for that, but we don't take it if somebody just wants to avoid a teacher, because that's not good.
For the audience, IDLA.
Oh, excuse me, Idaho Digital Learning Academy.
Thank you.
Me and my acronyms, I apologize. And so working on that, and also on payroll procedures for filling out time cards. And then everyone learning every day. At the at each month we have an admin meeting, and that admin meeting consists of the administrators from the building and also the directors from the various departments. And each month when I work with the principals, I work on helping to develop their skills. We talk about evaluations and the process for evaluations and best practices for those kinds of things. This month we talked about developing relationships with our staff members. There are some staff members who just want to say nose to the grindstone and they'll come find you if they need something. But other staff members need you to come to their room and ask them about, hey, what's going on? What can I do to support? So we talked about communication practices and getting teachers engaged in that, as well as student engagement and connecting with students. And staff spotlight, I have to spotlight Michael Stevens. He's not here tonight, which is too bad for him to hear me sing his praise, but this district's in really good shape technologically. Things run, and they run well, and when something goes down, he is so proactive in getting it taken care of. He is incredibly valuable to this district. I know I'm probably singing to the choir here, but I just need to recognize him. And then he's just such a good guy. So, like, the reason he's not here tonight is because the junior high's having a dance, and they were concerned about their sound system and their music and all of their stuff, and they really needed the technical expertise of the tech guy. And so he's there tonight because he's just a good guy and does those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. He does his job well.
He does, and we are so fortunate.
Yeah, moving on, financial report. Charlie.
Just basically one thing this month, I'm not gonna lie, it's not like a super exciting or happy thing. SRS, Secure Rural Schools funds, were not renewed. It doesn't mean that they won't be or that they won't address it again, but I imagine that is out in the papers and news, and so we are aware it is a really big hit to Mountain View School District. We are the school district that gets the most funds from it out of the whole state.
101?
It's $1 million.
Oh, $1 million.
Yeah. So we're waiting, based off of my monthly Zoom meeting with the state every month about finances. They're not like terribly concerned. We have had this, I think it was back in like 2017. Okay, 17. I was gonna say 16, and it did come. It was just about a half a year's worth. It was about a half a year behind. So that is definitely concerning and has been kind of on my brain. So not exciting stuff.
Larry?
Since Senator Rich is kind of on point with this issue, is there any reason why this body shouldn't write him a letter telling him that this is not, I mean, $1 million to
Rich or Crapo?
I thought it was Rich. Oh, he's the one I saw in the paper commenting about it.
Well,
We have two senators. We can write both of them.
On the committee.
You know, $1 million may be pocket change to District of Columbia, but it's not to us. And I would propose we write a letter and let him know that, both of them.
Yeah, we could do that, I guess. Do we need to take action to do that?
Nope.
We can't take action.
No, that's
We can
just-
put it on the next agenda.
No.
Yeah,
I'll,
that'd be just
I'll have
fine.
a sample letter for you.
Or
Or do we
Who
even
wrote
need to be?
I have reached out to Crapo. I really would like to brag that I'm in Education Weekly this month. I'm quoted, but I don't sound very intelligent. So let's not bother looking it up. Anyway, I have reached out to Crapo's office. He is working diligently. He recognizes the financial hit that Idaho will take without. And I really, maybe I'm being a Pollyanna, but I kind of think it just got caught up in that push and shove that happened with budgets last month. So I really think it'll come back, and I'm enough of a Pollyanna right now that I think it'll be okay. But yeah, I do agree. It always helps to reach out.
No reason we
Always
should
helps.
not.
Anything else, Carly?
No, that's
We're good?
it.
That's enough.
Moving on to business. Code of ethics we will actually address later. So actually it's just a no action taken.
Just do
at
no
this point.
action, yeah, cause you have it down below and
It's in our policies.
it's down under your policies.
So moving on to reorganize the board. We just need to elect some people.
call for nomination.
No.
Call for nominations.
Or chairperson.
Chairperson first, I guess we'll just go down the list here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
can I vote that you still be Mr. Chairman?
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay, hang on.
Sounds
Let me,
good. First and second.
okay.
Any other discussion? I'm okay with it. It's,
You've done great,
We're-
and we're
we're
so
learning as we
grateful
go,
for
right?
you, and you did so great in your first year.
Does anyone else need to make a motion? Does anyone else?
yeah, any other motion?
No move, nominations be closed.
So
Sounds
just
good.
call for a vote.
Call for a
Yep.
vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, sounds good, passed. Vice Chairman,
I move that Larry Dunn stay vice chair.
do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, hold
Further,
on.
further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
who's
John. Booth and John.
B and then John? Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Nicholson.
Appoint a board clerk.
Mr. Chairman, I appoint Tracy as our board clerk.
I'll second.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Board clerk alternate.
Who did we have last
Oh,
year?
do you want me to speak on this? Or you can speak on this.
Well, you can speak, but,
You want this
yeah.
So what it is, no, we did not have one last year. So what it is if I can't get up here to do a posting, if I can't make it to a meeting because I have a prior engagement with Cami, you would appoint a alternate in case I can't be here.
And who would you suggest, Alyssa, in your office? Mrs.
The
Hollis?
person holding the person sitting right.
She's here
She
anyway.
does, I mean, she
She'd be
typically
great.
will do it, and then she has to hold off and wait till Tracy can sign it, so this
Okay.
just gives her the authority to
Oh,
sign it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Carly Beeler as the alternate board clerk.
Do we have a second?
Should we say the business manager?
You do a name.
We need a specific
Okay.
name, I
A
guess.
specific name.
Do we have a second?
Who seconded?
Second by John.
John? Okay.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Custodian, appointed custodians for all public records.
Mr.
Which should
Chairman,
be clerk, I guess, right?
No,
No?
so it's superintendent, comptroller, and clerk.
Oh, three
Three.
custodians.
Yeah. Yep,
I'm sorry, I
superintendent,
didn't
comptroller,
understand
and
that
clerk.
conversation.
It would be clerk, superintendent, and comptroller?
Typically, that's who you
Those
use,
three,
isn't it?
yes, we have,
So that's how you want
Three
the
people.
motion?
do we have a motion?
I'm gonna do it.
Do it, go ahead for it.
No, I'm gonna do the,
Do we
what
do-
I'm told not
Don't
to
Do
do.
we
you
do
dare
it by
do it.
name? We do it by name though, right?
No, this can be superintendent, comptroller, clerk. This can be.
This can be by
That
position.
can be position. Mhm.
Okay.
What she said.
No.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the clerk, the superintendent, and our alternate clerk as the custodians for all public records.
Do we have a second? Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, moving along, I like this. Set time, date, time, and place of regular board meetings. Kinda have a list there. Anything that seems,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
can we go through this in like one swoop?
Oh, yes, one meeting.
Okay.
One motion, yes.
I would move that we keep it the third Thursday of each month. Executive session at 5:30, regular session at 6 p.m. The calendar, with the exception, either June 19th, we're going to Clearwater Valley, or we're going to Elk City.
Oh,
Hang on a second. So the reason the June board meeting is at the district office, because that is your budget hearing. That is why, that is why.
So should we do July CV?
Mm-hmm.
Also, the maintenance and custodians are cleaning the buildings, and so they just asked if the summer could be at the district office.
Are they cleaning Elk City?
That's all I know.
Who's getting it dirty?
So maybe
So
July
that's why the
17th?
June, that's why the June meeting is at the district office.
So we could do July 17th at Elk City?
It's
Or
only 2 months
CVE,
away.
we have none at CVE.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that.
I
Oh,
kind of
you're
also
right.
suggested
Yeah.
that because CB High School is just such a really good location for setup, and then nobody's questioning, is it the elementary or the high school? And so
Haven't
it's
you
just
ever
always
got down
that-
there
that-
and you
does
check
that
the
hurt
agenda, like,
elementary?
is it in,
Every
is it
time.
the elementary or the
Yeah.
high school day?
Every
Yeah.
time.
Right there.
And they have adult-sized chairs.
Yeah.
Is Melanie okay?
Who said that?
I just say.
Is Melanie okay with us not having it there?
Yeah. So are you wanting to change, I mean, I can change one of those meeting locations. I mean, do you want
Yeah.
to change one of them?
Do you think Melanie would be fine with us not? Okay.
We only have, 20% of this board is from Elk City. We can at least do 2 meetings out of 12
Yeah.
in Elk City. So
That would help me out.
Yep.
in good weather, that would be fine.
So do 2 in a row.
So either, I don't care which it is. Do you have a preference?
Nope.
What about May?
May 15th.
Okay.
So what about, so change May to Elk City?
Yeah.
May 15th, okay, that'll work.
Okay.
Cool.
Tell me the South Fork will be open for dinner.
Yeah, I like,
Right?
I like that.
Okay.
Oh, is that right?
One of my
So-
last
Yeah, they should be by then.
So board members, I just changed
You
that
got the VFW on
in the
this year.
minutes.
Okay.
The
Plus, if you
May
didn't really
15th.
enough,
The
I'm
May
pretty
15th
sure
Okay.
it's
Elk
salmon
City
season.
School.
got it.
Yep.
Might be able to go fishing along the way.
Okay.
Good.
So, it's looking good. Any other corrections?
So did you make,
Can I
you
have a
made that?
motion?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
With that
Lacey did.
exception.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you made it.
Yep.
Gotcha. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All of it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Although I do see there is no January.
That is because January's
we're-
meeting's happening right now.
Oh.
Amazing.
That works.
Didn't realize that.
I'm sorry.
We're
It's
good.
been a long week.
Approve posting places for board meetings.
That's the 2, right?
Those are 2. Do we just,
I need a motion.
we need a motion to go with that?
I move that board meeting agendas are posted at the district office and on the district website.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion?
I don't know, because I'm here, it's easy for me, well, actually, I'm not here, I'm that way. I've always felt awkward about the fact that we don't post out, I mean, I get it, I understand your reasoning, I do, that's just why I'm not arguing about it, I'm just going, somewhere I saw a statistic that said about 40% of this county is not on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
And my whole, and I will, just so the audience knows why I voice not to, is the last posting I make is when my timer starts. I mean,
Right.
if we're at 48 hours, that's and then let's just say Ty, I'm gonna pick on Ty. Let's just say Ty goes down to the post office where you guys have told me to post. Okay, he rips that off.
Yeah.
We don't have a posting, and now I've, so,
Yeah, makes sense.
that's why we only do this.
Yeah, I get it, I'm just,
Yeah.
it feels awkward to me because we have, our
Yeah.
population of interested people is growing, and I wanna accommodate them.
As a trustee, you could certainly post it down in Elk City if there's somewhere where you think that somebody would.
Yeah, if
That's
you
what I'm
so
asking.
Excuse
choose.
me,
Yeah.
Whitebird, Elk City for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
there-
so
there you
choose,
go.
and then if somebody pulls it from yours, that's not,
That's an
No big
interesting
deal,
way to
yeah.
think
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
absolutely,
So there's no reason we can't post it. other
absolutely.
places.
These are just the minimum.
These are the
This
minimum.
is just the minimum.
That's the answer. Alright,
There you go.
cool.
So in light of that,
I had a
further
second.
discussion, we have a
Yeah.
first, or,
Yeah, first and a second.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hire superintendent.
Okay, just for point of clarification, you all know I'm retired, right? So I can only work on a 5-year
Retired.
contract. I mean, a 5-month. Woo, you are giving me 5 years.
So close.
So close. So I can only work on a 5-month contract, so I finished up
Okay.
my first month
I
and
think
going
I heard
to.
5 years.
5 years?
No.
So,
I move that we hire the superintendent for February 25 through June of 25 to be Alyssa Holthouse. Can you make that into real English?
I know what you meant.
Good.
Okay.
we have a second.
On the June through December contract, right? Is
Yes.
We have a
June
second.
through-
Second, Lacey.
Wait, what?
June through December,
No.
because she was
No.
officially not working
No,
on
she's
January.
officially not working January, so it's
I'm just saying, same
February through June.
conditions as the
February.
June.
Same
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
conditions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it. With
Yes.
the conditions, yes, thank you.
We got it?
Yep.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of surplus items. Do we need to go through that, or?
So those are just items that have been identified in the district that we're no longer using, but may have some value. And so in Idaho, you can't throw them away, you can't have a yard sale, you have to do a public auction. And we have a public auction, but they first have to be declared surplus by the board.
I do want to point out that I think it's important to say that the majority of this list came from one school, but we first reached out to all the other schools, and a few other items were snagged up. So we're definitely making sure that we're touching base with everyone that we're not getting rid of stuff that we do still
In
want.
that admin meeting that I talked about where we come together, we shared it there, we sent a list out email, and they shared with their staff. So we're not just throwing away good things, but we want to be fiscally responsible and get value out of the things that we have that we're no longer using.
And what auction block will this go on?
Public auction surplus site. I think it's literally called public surplus.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I approve the surplus items to be.
Move to approve it.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board trustee trainings. Date and time options for Robert's Rules of Governance.
Mr. Chairman, I would propose we mirror what we did tonight at the time and place of our next board meeting, which would be February 20th, that we have a workshop timing similar to what we did tonight.
And do you have an idea for a topic or a person?
Us. That whole list I gave you, and I think it was in Clearwater, of things that we need to address about our board governance, as well as Robert's Rules of Order.
Is that
Like-
somewhere
like-
we would edit the 1500p?
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. That's a piece of
Is
it.
that allowed?
We need, sounds like from tonight's meeting, for example, we need to modify our rules with respect to the public comment period.
Just clarify them?
Yeah, you know, we need to put our feet down and say, are we gonna use Robert's Rules of Order or are we not? Because policy doesn't say at this point, that sort of stuff. It's all pretty boring, frankly, but it needs to be done.
Well,
So
and
when are you wanting the workshop to begin? 4:30
If we can
again?
get it done in an hour and a half, I'll be amazed, but we'll
So
work towards that.
4:30 p.m.?
Yes.
Is that what you want your
That's
start?
what I'm proposing, yes, please.
like the first sentence in that policy says our meetings are every Monday.
Yeah.
There you go, see, right there.
Okay. So I have Vice Chairman Dan moved to have a workshop at the February regular board meeting. The workshop will begin at 4:30 p.m.
Right.
Okay.
There you go.
I need a.
Second.
Okay.
I'll
Have a
second. I'll second.
Okay. I don't know if this discussion here, but did you guys I'll get an email from the ISBA that next week of the timing, they're putting on a Robert's Rules of Order workshop.
Oh, is that right? I think I
It's
didn't say that.
online
Yeah,
on
it's
next
on,
Thursday. I think it's next Thursday.
It's a
Yeah, you wanna look it up real quick?
like a Skype one. I think I
And
just.
so you can zoom in. I'm gonna be working, so I'm not going to watch it unless it's recorded and maybe afterwards, but
Usually
you might bring more to the table if someone else watches
Are you
it.
sure?
Or, you know, whatever.
Good point.
That's just discussion, but
Yep.
any further discussion beyond that,
It is January 23rd.
which is next Thursday, right?
There's one at 12 and one at 4 p.m. Central Time.
Central, which would be 3.
Yeah.
Oh, Central, no, that'd be 2 here. Or was that
It'd be 10
Central?
and
10, 2,
one.
2
Is
hours
this
left?
CST?
One,
Not 10
one
and
here,
one.
one
Should
here.
say mountain.
No, it doesn't say mountain.
Huh. Oh, well. Figure it out.
Yep,
No,
January
didn't she
23rd.
say 4?
Yeah,
No, she
4
said-
CST.
So it'd be
Oh,
2
sorry.
here, so it would be 2
Two.
here,
My
yeah,
bad.
yeah. But,
You can register early. Maybe I'll send it to Tracy and Tracy can send it if not everybody got it.
I think
Yeah.
everybody should have received. You didn't receive
you
it?
didn't receive
It
it.
says
Ethan
for
Ashley?
Ethan
Okay,
Ashley.
got it.
I'll look for it. And how much are they charging us for that?
I don't know, I don't know. But, I mean, it's, the timing of it's pretty,
Yeah.
I think it's
pretty
part of it.
nice if
We're
we're,
finally on time.
you know, dive into this.
It's
Yeah.
$50
I wouldn't mind.
$50 a head.
plus a $5.20 fee.
Just take some good notes, Larry.
Hmm?
Take some good notes for him.
I will,
okay?
sir.
All right. Anyway, we have a motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Well, actually, if he registers for it, he might get a copy of the
Right?
Zoom that he could then share possibly with us.
Ooh, I like that.
What do you call that, PowerPoint maybe, something like that?
That would be great.
Yeah. Guess I have to do it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, or you
If-
bring to the table, that'd be great.
If you come in and we'll register it and we can
Super.
use it for our continuous improvement
Perfect,
funds.
perfect. Good.
Okay, I like that.
Stuff them up.
Further discussion? Good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, approval of policies. Now,
There's-
Series 1000,
So,
Code of Ethics.
we all know about 1000, policy 1600 and code of ethics, and it became a volatile issue in a board meeting here a few years ago. And so, Mountain View created their own code of ethics, which is fine, that's within your rights to do. However, in my opinion, it was far too truncated and important things were left out. I believe I wasn't here for the meeting, but I believe one of the sticking points was, it says in the sample code of ethics that once a vote is taken, and you've made a decision as a board, therefore you support that decision as a board. And one of the trustees, again, I'm speaking secondhand, felt like, no, if I voted against something, I voted against it, and I'm not gonna tell the public I voted for it. And that wasn't the intent. The intent is, once a decision's made, we all are good sports. Anyway, so I have prepared for you, well, I think Harley prepared it, but I've encouraged the preparing, your current 1600, which is very truncated, and then, the sample that used to be the one that was signed by trustees here. It is signed by most trustees in most districts. And it's, so this is the one that you have truncated. It's very short, and then there's another one that's much longer, and I like it. It talks about being respectful, and it talks about reading your board packet and coming prepared and not having hidden agendas, and that things are decided by majority vote. And so, again, it is for you. It's been in your board packet to read. You can take one or the other, or a combination. I am fine with any. I just have to share my opinion, because you know I always will, that the one you have is too short and doesn't cover the good stuff. Oh, I'm sorry.
John?
Again, looking through what was here, and I can understand why this might be a little bit short, but the proposed one here is just a carbon copy of the ISBA.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I'm excited about that. I would like to go through it and consider that before we actually, adopt something like that. Now, is there something more that maybe should be brought over here into what we do? That's possible. But again, I would like to do more than just have 15 minutes to.
Right, and so you certainly can discuss it tonight and then table it and then make a decision next month, or do some work on it.
I'm fine if you guys.
Yeah, we're not statutorily time limited on this issue, right? That's what I thought.
No. So what I would suggest, if you table this tonight, I will not put code of ethics, because you did no action taken up above. I won't put that on that. We'll do this first, and then I'll put code of ethics on for the next time.
Okay. So at this point in time, we're just no action.
Do you wanna table it, or do you wanna do no action for
table.
this? Or do you wanna do a second reading? What would you like? That's your guys' decision.
What would you guys like? What would you like?
I'd recommend we table this tonight and give us all a chance to go back and review it,
Just
and
review
then
it
bring it
more.
up for discussion next month.
Sounds good.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so
Second that. More discussion on that?
Just for your edification, I'm the one that wrote the truncated one, and I think it's fine the way it is, based on the fact that I can be a little bit literal sometimes, and in my estimation, about 50% of what the ISBA lists are not issues of ethics, they're issues of behavior, and I agree with the previous board member who objected in particular to items 4 and 5, which are related which he viewed as a truncation of his First Amendment rights. I agree. They shouldn't be in there. Board members do retain their First Amendment rights, even with respect to a vote taken during a public meeting. As by way of example, and I'll probably be done with this, number 8 is, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines talking about how we ought to recognize the superintendent. Now, I'm not saying that the information in there is incorrect, but how is that an ethic? You know, do you follow my, I think this has become a bureaucratic morass that doesn't really speak to the issue of what is our core responsibilities. And our core responsibilities outside of a code of ethics are those things which we talk about trying to instill in our students, which is being polite and courteous and understanding your role in the system. All those things are out there, which I think most even marginally educated adults already know. This to me is the first time I ran into this, and I've had to sign a few code of ethics in my life, this was like, are you kidding me kind of stuff. I think the existing code of ethics covers things quite nicely. It's nice to have something from a big bureaucracy like we are, which is nice, short, and sweet. And I hope we can keep it.
With that, any other discussion? Oh, we can read over it this next month. All in favor of tabling it? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on. Series 2000.
Okay, so the first one is 2520, which is the selection, adoption, use, and removal of curricular materials. And so one portion of that is that you must have patron input, of course. This does not outline the makeup of the committee. This is just the process by which the board would, the committee would look at curriculum and make a selection.
So,
Can we bifurcate these by way of a vote, or should we keep them together?
They're separate.
Do you want 2 separate motions for
I would
2520
suggest 2
P and
separate. They're 2 different
2520?
policies.
Yeah, they're
so
2 different
I-
issues.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm talking
So
about
first-
I'm talking about 2520 and 2520P.
Yeah.
Do you want 2 separate motions?
I
sir?
would separate
Okay.
them.
Separate motions. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve 2520 as written in our packets.
Do we have a second?
And by the way, for the room, this did go through the curriculum. This did go through the policy revision committee. And so I think it's a pretty good product.
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion? All right, bring this to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to
So
next part.
2520P, and I agree that you should have it on 2 different votes, because
Thanks.
this is the structure of the committee, and I believe that that's where you're going to have the strongest feelings and emotions. Idaho Code 33512A outlines the structure of the committee. Mostly it just says that more than half of the committee needs to be made up of patrons, not employees of the school district, some of which must be parents in the district.
I have a copy of that you just referenced. I'm going to pass a couple copies
Perfect,
down
yay.
in case somebody's not familiar
And
with it.
so, letter B, 1B, is the makeup of that, is what the policy committee recommended as the makeup. And B sub I is the 6 patrons, and those both go together. It's not one or the other. I realize one is black and one is red, but it would be, that's an insert, that additional sentence there.
So the only thing is, it says, and shall include parents of a child or children attending a school or schools within the school district. So such a committee shall contain a membership at least 1/2 of which is persons who are not public educators or school trustees, and shall include parents of a child or children attending a school or schools within the school district. So help me is that only parents or?
So there would be 12 people on the committee, 12 total people on the committee, and half of them would be called the patrons.
But it says person.
And of the patrons, half of those would be, at least half of whom are parents of children currently attending. So of the
It says
6,
it.
at least 3.
At least 3.
So it says such a committee shall contain a membership at least one half. So that's the other 6, not the.
That's 512. There you go.
Such a shall contain a membership at least one half of which is persons who are not public educators or school trustees and shall include parents of a child or children attending a school. So does that mean only parents can
No.
be the other
No.
piece?
I don't,
Okay.
I think, I mean, that's the same question I was wrestling with. So the committee picked the number 12, which is not written in stone either for everybody's information with respect to item 1B. Nonetheless, half of the committee has to be made up of patrons. It doesn't say what portion of those patrons have to be parents with kids in the system. So, Frank, I don't want to say arbitrary because that's not a good word in this context. So, where is it here?
So 3 of them would have to be parents.
Yeah.
But the policy
Right.
team came up with that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it could be 4, right? It doesn't tell us exactly. We could say 4.
At least half.
Yeah, at least half.
And it should. It should have parents.
That's reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, precisely. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm glad that, frankly, I'm glad that's in there. So are we,
Do
can
we
we
wanna
move
make
on
a
to that
motion?
topic, or?
Or do we wanna make a motion so we can discuss it? Do we need a motion to discuss, or we just
No,
discuss
you
it?
can
But
discuss.
let's just,
You're fine. I believe you're fine.
all right, well, that sounds good.
As I've said, I'm gonna move on to the red section. As I've said before, and as very much better than I could have said when Mr. Wong talked about, I am absolutely not in favor of a blind draw for this type of a committee, especially. I have shared with everybody this document, which actually is what changed my mind. This curriculum essentials one. And which in summation says that the 2 most important thing a school district or a school board can do in order of priority, the first one is take care of the safety of the kids in our schools. The second one is to pay attention to how we select the curriculum that we use and the curriculum that we use. So there is no more important job than the safety of our kids and how we go about selecting curriculum. What bothers me about selecting things randomly, as I shared at the last meeting, after we selected the policy review committee randomly, I was contacted, again, I mentioned this, so I apologize for repeating myself. I was contacted by someone who said that they were aware of 2 different circumstances down in Treasure Valley where, for political reasons, that kind of a process was stacked by people who had a particular bent towards whatever this committee was going to be working on, which then makes it no such thing as a random selection. If you've got 12 people in the hat and 10 of them have one position, you have no way of knowing, you have no way of properly managing that situation, and it becomes too politically able to be manipulated. That's my first concern about this. And I don't care if it's my side or the other side. I don't like the fact that throwing numbers out of a hat for this is just too ripe for manipulation. The second thing is, and so a different person brought this up to me, and with all due respect, because you have to say that before you say anything potentially offensive these days, but somebody asked me on Sunday, well, how do we even know that these people have a high school diploma? If it's random, we don't. We don't. That's my 2 major reasons for being, for opposing a blind draw which is a random drawing of pulling names out of a hat. I'll leave that for the moment. I do have a recommendation to something I think solves this problem, but I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Maybe if you told us a solution to the problem, it would help, because I'm the same as you, like my whole life has been education, master's degrees,
There you go.
15 years teaching.
Yep.
I agree that somebody who's been in the classroom would know more, or somebody who has some sort of knowledge would know
Something,
more.
life experience.
Whatever,
Yeah.
yes.
Business,
Somebody
whatever.
who has a major in history, if we're talking about history, right?
Yep.
But then I get worried about bias.
Mhm.
I remember I used to be a teacher here, and we had hiring committees, and it was really strange, the people that kept getting asked to be on the hiring committees every single time. And you just start seeing that bias. And how do we do it with the best intentions without bias?
Exactly, agreed. And so my idea, and I've mentioned this to the superintendent, I guess it's been a month ago now. My suggestion is that we develop, well, let me back up one step. Dr. Meno and I have both volunteered to be on the curriculum committee, at least for the time being. Things change over time. This also doesn't address how long this committee is going to be standing for. That may be a deficit we need to fix. I'm not sure. It just occurred to me.
Typically appoint your committees in July,
But for how long do they sit?
every July.
Every
You
July
roll your
flips over.
committee every-
Okay, but this one would.
And typically you ask the committee members if they wish to stay. If they do, great. If they don't, then
You
you
start over.
have 3 positions
Okay.
you need to fill.
We probably should have that.
And really, I'd like to be on that curriculum team. I'm on the state curriculum team every week in the summers. I'm the one that helps select
So you can
So
only
we
have
just
2
elect.
board members.
state of Idaho,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
great.
think I have a lot of knowledge in this,
We have a,
just saying.
we
if
don't
we're
have
gonna
a,
do
we
this
don't have
on-
a curriculum committee at this point in time.
No,
Right.
It's been
no, we don't.
disbanded and we're starting fresh, okay.
My
But Larry just said Larry and John would like to do
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
so I'd like to
yeah.
put my name in the hat as
Yep.
well.
well, I'm standing on, you can call it tradition or you can call it precedent, but the first 2 people to throw, most people don't want to be in a committee, so this is kind of a rare bird. But precedent and tradition is the first 2 people that put their hand up get the position, assuming they still want it.
Yeah.
Without,
Yeah.
without anybody
Well-
else having the
Well, we
ability
can
to
vote
say?
on that too.
Well, sure.
We're gonna vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay. In any event, my idea is to go ahead and do the solicitation, get the names, and ask these people to answer some questions that would give us a better understanding of the kind of things you were talking about. Then I would take those answers to those questions, remove the names from them, give them a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many there are, people, and then we look at them and we each pick, let's say there's 10, we each pick our top 10 from 1 to 10. And then we look at those and things will kind of sort themselves out that way. So everybody can kind of have their own time to look at the individuals. And it seems to me the most unbiased way to do it if we don't know who the person is, which in a small town can sometimes be an issue. That might have been sort of kind of what was going on with the hiring committee, that sort of thing. We just looked at it based on what their answers to the questions are. And we rank them ourselves, and then we put those rankings together, and the numbers will kind of sort it out for us.
Would there just be consistent questions for every curriculum that we are adopting, or like,
But just in general, I'm just thinking general concepts.
so like resume items?
We can decide on the questions easy enough. I'm thinking things like, what unique experience or academic achievement do you think would make you an ideal candidate for this committee? Something like that. Kind of leave it broad enough to where people can show their strengths.
My thought too on the whole thing is that people have strengths that are not necessarily limited to, having a piece of paper with a special, whatever's on it. They've worked for a living in this area, they've got a lot of experience, they understand a lot of stuff. And I think there's a lot of value to that in the educational system, personally.
Even if they didn't graduate high school?
Well, potentially,
Yeah.
So see, this is where it starts like,
but again, that's
Yeah.
a good question though.
it's so muddy.
And that's something that should be asked in there too, and we may decide that, no, we don't want anybody that hasn't gotten a high school diploma.
Well, let's say these women in back, they're new to life experience, but maybe they have a lot, maybe they really want to be on this
That's right.
committee.
And they
If
may,
if they express interest and they get their name in the hat, their name could be
That-
drawn,
there could be,
That's
but they can
giving
answer
them-
these questions.
but they wouldn't have as, I mean, you might
Well-
not have as much life experience as somebody who's 70 years old. So is that somebody, I mean, maybe they just went through school, so maybe they have a better idea of what curriculum actually works.
That's where the question should sort those things out.
Yeah.
I don't
That's-
think, we're not talking about employment, we're talking about a volunteer position, but
But it's
I would
very
hesitate away
important to
from
people.
answering demographic questions, you know?
I just feel like you can't base somebody's,
Educational background?
I just think it's really hard, you really have to look at the whole person if you're gonna base
Yeah,
it on.
I agree.
And that's what's hard is, if somebody expresses interest in it, they should have every right as anybody else, just cause they're not educated or wherever, and like, I just feel like putting the names in the hat gives everybody an equal opportunity to be on that committee that they care about.
But I think we owe it to the students, and for whatever we're gonna have for a curriculum, to have people that have some basis in life experience or other that relates to what we want as a school system, as an educational system. And yes, you know, the fact that somebody may not have graduated from high school, maybe they got a GED. I would hope at least they got a GED. But if they just went off and, you know, worked at McDonald's for the next 50 years, that might limit whether they should be on that committee.
But maybe that was somebody who worked at night with their kids every night on their math and got them up to, you know what I mean? It's like,
But
maybe they have this
explain-
love for math.
Then we need to
that-
have the questions in whatever, we have a set of questions that explore what is appropriate or what we think is appropriate to the people that we want on this committee. And the fact that, you know, whether or not they got a PhD and whatever, it shouldn't matter when it comes to that.
We personally are gonna rank these
Correct.
applicants.
Correct.
You look at your 10, you say, that's my first pick, and second pick.
No
third
names
pick.
on 'em.
No names. And then we come back together and we are given the superintendent, and she
Yeah.
matches them up with the, or whomever, and they say, these are the rankings.
So you
And we
could
take the
put what
top
you
6.
value most.
Yeah.
What
That's
do
a
other
good question.
districts
Putting
do?
the rec. Yeah.
It's relatively new law, I'm not sure, and I was not in the world of education last year, loving every minute. So I don't know, I don't
Get
know
out
what
of your
others,
brain.
I honestly don't know what other schools are
Got a
doing.
while ago.
Sorry for my editorializing.
And we also floated the idea that each trustee selects someone from their zone. It's muddy, what do you do, right?
I do know that lots of schools are struggling with it, so that you're struggling makes you very normal.
Finally.
We're
Yeah.
finally normal.
It's
Oh my
a
gosh.
struggle.
I think
Each
the
trustee
blinder
picks
we
somebody
are
from their zone
to the individuals.
That was
the
floated,
better
I'm
off
just throwing that out there, I'm not.
It's actually not a bad idea
What?
Yeah.
that each trustee would pick somebody from their zone.
Except that I don't like the idea of being limited to your own zone. And I use, and I've told you
You're
this,
like, no, I know you
I
don't.
use the example, if I want a dentist, I'm gonna find the best dentist I can find, I don't care where they live. So it just has to be within the district, or at least within Idaho County. It should be within the district, excuse me, I'll correct myself. But take that limitation off of it, and that was actually my first choice, I didn't think, too many people. I think we ought to be responsible as, board members and put somebody forward as a recommendation.
If we simply pick a person from our own zone, or if we just pick numbers out of a hat or names out of a hat, we have no confidence whether that person can even read or write.
Well, if we choose the person.
If we choose them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but again,
I mean,
that may
full
be
ball.
us, but again, maybe not you. Maybe you'll decide some.
Well, I don't know. I
Again,
like judging.
again, it's just, I think if we do it with that kind of a blind review, we're a whole lot better off as a community and as a school system for what we wind up on this committee.
Given, going back to where I started, given the gravity and the importance of this topic, I like using the term merit system. We appoint, which is what the language says, we appoint people based on merit system.
Just to be devil's advocate for half a second.
Yeah, sure.
The policy committee, rock stars. That committee is probably one of the highest functioning committees I've ever watched in action, and they were a blind draw.
And I will share with you
But
the
that
same
was me
thing
praying a lot.
I'll share with you the same thing I've always shared with you. Out of the more than several people who told me after the fact that they threw their name in the hat, not one of them got picked. So, you know, is there a perfect system? Absolutely not. I'm trying to think of a way to make this merit-based and not, the randomness of it
Right.
just
So every fundraiser.
gives me hives.
You never get chosen.
Again,
Well,
I
and
think,
maybe, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the other thing too is if we do this with the, okay, answer these questions blind, then that brings that responsibility back in our own laps.
Yeah,
Whereas you just, if
That's
you
what
just
I'm
pick-
trying to avoid.
Well.
No, truly,
but-
because it's not my,
but
I don't
think-
feel like it's my, I know that people elected me, but at the same time, I may not know somebody, so I'm gonna be more
So-
biased to somebody I do know. That's not fair to
Well,
the
but-
person I
so
don't know.
But-
Keep the names anonymous. We
That's right.
have to keep the names anonymous.
That's right, the names are.
No, he
anonymous.
meant appointing, if we appoint people,
Well, I
right?
know,
Yeah.
but you could still, you could appoint the resume, not the name.
Yeah. Again, I
You
think
know what I
we
mean?
have an obligation.
And you can even
To
put
the
on it,
people out here.
I'm from Kuski, I'm from Elk City, I'm from, you know, I mean, if that's important to us, I don't,
So could we table it with homework, where we come up with questions that would be in that,
Well, we have to decide what we're gonna do with this proposed language or not.
can
For
we table
starters.
it
Well, could we have a
and
vote?
deal with it next month?
So right now, you do not have a vote on the table for this, for 2520P.
We
So
don't have
you
a-
can make a motion to table it, you
We
can
can
make
just
a
table it.
motion to do whatever you so choose.
And in the meantime, possibly Mrs. Holthouse, Superintendent Holthouse, could like look into what some other what other places are doing.
I can pull, some other local just policies.
Yeah, or just ask the
Others.
other superintendents what they're
Doesn't have to
doing.
be local.
You know what I mean? Like, how are they handling the selection of the other half? But in the meantime,
do
we
we
could also
want
have the
to,
questions.
just for the sake of, if we go down this path that Larry's proposing, do we want to develop our own questions?
That's what I was
Yes.
thinking for homework,
So we can bring questions to the table
and then
next-
choose them
next
next.
And how are we, just since we're on the topic, how are we gonna choose those questions?
Well, I think us together could
Yeah,
put
we'll
it in the
just-
policy,
Yeah, we'll just decide.
and
We'll
we
just
could have
discuss
those
it.
questions.
Well, I'm just saying, in between, if all of us, there's, 5 of us here, Ms. Holthouse should be part of this as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, she can bring them.
And we end up hypothetically with 40 questions, how are we gonna sort through that?
Could we just each do 4 questions and then we sort through them, and
Yeah, that'd be
Well-
fine.
is that something
I
we
think
could
we-
send Tracy ahead of time?
You could actually, if you're sending questions to the superintendent, you could send those strictly to the superintendent.
Okay.
That doesn't have to be filtered through me.
And then if you could compile them for the next meeting, and then we could just go through and, I don't
So,
know,
I think
is
it's
that
What
allowed?
what I think I'm hearing you say is, you will come up with questions that you think is appropriate for this questionnaire.
Uh-huh.
You'll send those to me, I'll compile them, and at the next meeting, you'll decide which ones you want to put on the
If that's the way we go,
If
yes.
we decide to
If
go that
that's the
route.
way we
This
go.
is just to be prepared if
I
we
can do
decide
that.
to go
Yeah.
by trustee John's.
May I suggest then, when you compile the questions, take the names off of the submission, just to get all the
Right.
personalities in there, just a list of questions, however
Yeah.
they come in. Don't know who wrote them.
Oh, okay, so
that
that I
okay?
will
Yeah.
attribute your questions to
Right,
you.
these are just one of the questions,
Right.
and that way, it just, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the personalities out of it, and I'm trying to, one of the things I was talking to somebody else, actually the same person, about in this kind of a thing, is if we pick each one of us picks the people, how awkward is that gonna be if the committee comes back with a recommendation we don't like? Hey, we're talking about politics, you know what I'm saying? This is important stuff that we're doing here, it's hard, it should be hard.
I'd be fine if that's what they choose.
Maybe, depends on what they choose.
Well, at that point, it's a majority, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a majority.
Yeah, oh yeah,
They've
sure.
looked at a lot of
Sure,
stuff
I'm
and
just,
they've,
I'm
they're
just saying
the
is
ones that
just
are.
to throw an additional layer on top of everything.
But I mean, granted, yeah, there's gonna be 6 educated.
Total 12, yeah.
Total 12.
Yeah. All right, so what
I
do we do
move
on
that
it?
we table
P.
2520P to next month. Do I need to put the homework in or no?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Move, second, that table?
Who got it? Who seconded,
John.
please? John?
All in favor?
Table it?
Or
Yeah.
table, up table, till next. Aye. We got 2.
Yeah,
All in
yeah,
favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
Favor, table, yeah.
Moving on to Series 3000.
This is
Oh,
the
yeah.
second read of the student-owned electronic communication devices,
Oh, that's right.
cell phone policy, recommended by the governor.
It gives a lot of discretion to the teacher themselves, I see.
However,
is
it does
good, I
say
guess.
for educational reasons, so.
Yeah.
So you can't pull out your phone and scroll your social media or whatever, but there can be times, oh gosh, I'm not gonna remember the site, what's the site? That they can use for quick tests and quizzes, so there.
Quora?
If it's a Quizlet, if it's an educational site, then yes, they could use it in the classroom. If it's not for educational reasons, no, they cannot use it.
And it also gives the teacher more flexibility to be having not harsher, but stricter, like, hey, everybody puts.
Put
I'm
your cell
taking-
phone on my desk before you leave to
but
go to the
yeah,
bathroom,
one of those
that
things,
kind of
okay,
thing.
yeah.
I move that we approve 3265 as presented.
Can't we just put a cell phone blocker up?
They used to.
Actually, they
Oh,
did.
you
Used
see?
to. Can't
They
anymore.
did,
Oh,
we
really?
had to
It's against the
take it down.
FFA,
Oh, yeah.
FAA,
Really?
Federal Airlines, whatever,
Oh.
mess with their.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's- oh,
Yeah,
that's-
I think.
Not FFA.
That's
Future farmers.
FCC,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
the
interrupting
there we
them.
go.
That's
Um,
somebody.
We have a motion, right?
Yep.
We have a second? To approve this?
I'll make a second, I have a question after.
Discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, discussion, move on.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Somebody remind me why we sent this for a second reading in the first place. I know we talked about a number of issues the last time. Was there a particular, I don't see any red in here, that's why I'm asking.
So the first read, the governor made his motion,
Yeah.
and then he attached some money to it, and then
Yeah.
he attached a deadline that you had to have a first read before the end of the year, and had to have policy approved by the end of
Okay.
January. We didn't move that quickly, and it didn't get through the policy committee, and we wanted to honor our policy committee by giving them a chance
Yeah.
to look at it. So you did a first read on the governor's, and then it went to the policy committee.
Do we still qualify for the money?
Yes, we
Okay,
did.
good. All right.
If
Copy
you
that.
approve it tonight, and
Okay.
it's not a ton of money, it's $5,000, but it's $5,000 that you
It's a
can
lot of
do
money to
for,
me.
to buy storage devices, like if a phone is collected and it's in the office, there are some envelope things that you can put it in, so it just protects the phone and protects the person who's in
Good.
charge of it, so it's good stuff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Moving on, Series 8000.
This is these, well, we probably should.
Okay.
8,001, sorry to make the meeting longer.
That's okay.
8,115 is non-instructional operation. This is for bus drivers, and this completely matches what is required by federal law in the fact that they can only drive for 15 hours, and then they have to have an 8-hour break, and so we are required to have this policy as our policy.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt policy 8115 as written.
I'll second.
Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on.
Okay, the next one is 8120, and this is the non-transportation zone, so like if there's a road, I'm not gonna call out pole line again. If there's a road that is unsafe for a bus to go on, you can declare it a non-transportation zone, and then bus doesn't go there, and parents bring their kids in and you pay them a rate for it. It also establishes bus routes and says that you need to approve those routes every year. And then safety busing is typically, if they live outside of 1.5 miles, But we can adjust that if we want, and so again, this is a policy that we're required to have when we have our audit every year, and got a little hand slap that we didn't have it yet this year, and so you now have the policy.
I have a question. Does this provide any kind of definition on what a non-transportation zone
Yep.
is?
Means the area designated by the board that we're not going to serve because of
Just-
scarcity of students, remoteness, or the conditions of the road. It
Okay,
is
there we go.
paragraph 3.
There, you see it there, okay. It's on down there. Yeah,
I probably
sorry, I'm
do.
blind, yeah.
I move that we accept 8120 as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just question, the superintendent, you and I talked about this, I think. Is this the one with the report to the board of the condition of the roads? Is that the next one or this one?
That is, I think it might be, sorry, I apologize.
I'm not finding it, that's why I'm asking.
I don't think it's this one. It is the last one, the transport.
Driver training?
It's not training.
Maybe it
Sorry.
should be in this one.
I know, I read the paragraph and it's just not popping
Yeah,
right
I'm
out.
not finding it right away.
Oh, was it one we did last month?
We did, I could've swore we did it last month.
Okay, so I do know that you and I talked about
Yeah.
at the last policy meeting,
Yeah.
the 8115.
Okay, maybe
And
it's already done
that's the
then.
one where they have to fill out their road service hours and their trip, and they have to turn them in.
Well,
Remember
I'm
that
talking more
conversation?
about,
Like
I'm recalling some language that said, once a year, the board has to approve, the bus routes, and that's fine. And prior to that, though, there's talk in the policy about there being an inspection of those roads, and there wasn't anything in the
Oh, that was
policy.
last month, and it had a rubric for it. Remember the chart that.
So we took care of that.
Yes.
That's all,
That
okay,
was-
just wanna make sure I wasn't missing it.
Sorry,
No,
running
that's fine.
together in my mind.
That's good, thank you.
Did you vote on that?
We had Edwards made the motion and Meyer seconded.
We're good with discussion?
Good, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, 8130.
8130 is transportation of students with disabilities. Again, this is federal law that we need to provide them with safety restraints, wheelchair accessibility, those kinds of things, as is outlined in their IEP, Individualized Education Plan.
I move that we adopt 8130 as presented.
Second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Policy 8180.
8180 is driver training and responsibility. They have to be 21 years of age. They have to pass a background check. They have to pass random drug tests, possess a valid driver's license, and qualify for medical. Again, these are federal laws under the Federal Transportation Department.
Have a motion?
I move that we approve 8180 as presented.
Second?
Second. Either one.
Who took?
Larry.
Larry? Okay.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on.
Information.
Informational items. Letter from Senator Cindy Carlson.
Letter is in response to your letter last fall, talking about our dependence on property taxes and levies, and she wrote thanking you, it's included in your packet, thanking you for communicating with her and encouraging you to continue to push for some alternative source of funding for schools.
All right, good. Moving on, letter from Kevin Francis.
Kevin Francis is a student at Clearwater,
Teacher.
Sorry. Kevin Francis is a teacher at Clearwater Senior High School, and he wrote a letter to you in opposition to Hillsdale and Prager University curriculum. That letter is included in your packet.
Now, this is going to be, you can go on this. Evaluation process and structure.
So I have a little cheat sheet for you all. What's this one?
Everyone of them?
Everyone gets one. Okay, so evaluation, if you don't mind, if I may, put evaluation and classified and certified work agreements, all of these things together into one conversation. So I'm going to sort of talk about item 3 and item 4 there. It's because I put it into one document for you. Okay, so first of all, for people who have not spent a lot of time in school, the first thing that to get clarification about is the difference between a classified employee and a certified employee. So certified is someone who holds a professional license, and so that's your teachers, your superintendent, your principals. It's also your speech and language pathologist, if we had one, a school psych, occupational therapist. Generally, we hire those people and they are on a contract. That contract is negotiated in this district by the board and the Central Idaho Education Association in the spring. So that's a certified position. They have a contract, and in Idaho some protections based on when they sign the contract and how long they have. It's a misnomer when it says, oh, if you've worked there 3 years, you've got tenure and you can't be terminated. That's not true. That's inaccurate. Anyway, that's not the intent ever. I didn't mean to bring up termination as that's the intent. I'm just clarifying, just clarifying. So then there's a process there. A classified employee, while they may hold a professional license, I think the person beside me, in her assignment in this district, while she holds a professional license, she's considered a classified employee because we are in Idaho and we're in a right to work state. And so she does not have any protections for her position because of being considered a classified employee. Classified employees are probably the biggest, most broad group of people in the entire district, because you have Michael Stevens, highly skilled, lots of expertise, and you have Carly, and it's everyone from a paraprofessional to a secretary to a custodian to a maintenance person to bus drivers, bus supervisors. Those are all classified. That's where it's really important that you have a job description for them, because they don't work under the same contract that's negotiated in a negotiated agreement in the spring. A job description is simply an outline document of what their job expectations are. There may have been, in my former time in the district, I worked as a certified person and had a contract, and so I don't know about job descriptions. There may have at some point been job descriptions, but there aren't now. There are not currently board approved job descriptions. We purchased those from ISBA. My recommendation is this spring, you guys go through them, approve those. We have a list of all the employees in the district. My recommendation is to have a job description for teachers and for do both of them. There's no reason not to. We have samples that you go through your list of employees and you say, oh, okay, this is a financial secretary, so their job description might look different than an attendance secretary. So you assign those, you look through, make sure that you have job descriptions for every role that we have, and you approve those.
So last year, our previous superintendent asked everybody to put together the responsibilities and roles that they have in there, correct? Do we have those? So people don't have to
We have it. It got interesting.
Okay.
In the sense of, I mean, it was great to see what everyone put, but I mean, I think it also proves like how intermingled like all of our jobs are, which is important to see, to like how many hats we all wear, and that a secretary is not just a secretary, they have so many other functions. So it is definitely important, but I feel like it is not very structured. We could get it there.
I think if we worked with the ISBA, descriptions we already have, and what they did last year, you guys, the employees, could come up with that.
I agree.
Because, I mean, we could approve it, but I have no clue all that.
Right, I think absolutely. We take the ones we have, we send them through, we have our administrators work with their building people to make sure that they're good with them. If, for instance, off the top of my head, in some of them it says must be able to lift up to 50 pounds, and in others it doesn't.
Right.
Some jobs you may need to lift up to 50 pounds. I'm guessing Ty lifts up 50 pounds from time to time. If I lifted up 50 pounds, I'd be laying on the ground. So it doesn't make sense for both of us to have that in our job descriptions. So I think, yes, I agree. We get them, we work with administrators and staff, get them kind of hammered out and cleaned up, and then we bring them to you. You look at them and approve them as a board. My recommendation is we roll them out in July with the work for next year, not the middle of the stream. that's confusing to people, it's scary.
And kind of remembering that the goal is not to, oh, I did this and this and this, like every single minute thing, but like
Right.
when you leave, the next person needs to know that responsibility. And then two, somebody like me, I can look at a job description and say, okay, you're having a problem, you need to go talk to this person because it clearly says here that this is who handles this.
Correct. Correct. So we're working on those job descriptions, and again, you really should have them for classified. My recommendation is everybody has them, and that's doable. Evaluations. So I evaluate this office, the people who work in this office. I evaluate the 4 maintenance people, the 2 bus supervisors, and the principals. Okay, so there's a kind of a hierarchy. You evaluate me, I evaluate them, and then the principals evaluate the people in their building. The bus supervisors evaluate the people, the drivers, the maintenance people evaluate the people who work under them. So there's that hierarchy for that. I will say that you do not see those evaluations at all. They are done. We have a checklist if you need to see a checklist that they're done, and they're placed on file in their personnel file, and there's a reason for that, because if somebody came to you if something came before you as a board to make a decision, you'd be prejudiced if you had seen those prior job descriptions. They're there and available if we needed them for a hearing, but we would not see those. No, excuse me, evaluations. Thank you. I need to slow my mouth down to match my brain. Okay, and then finally, outside contractors. So in this district, we have a number of people that we are in contract with, outside contractors. I will give the example of the school site. We'd love to have our own school site. There's not one to hire. And so we have to contract outside the district. Those contracts sometimes are very short based on the work. Like we need you for 3 months, we come up with this contract, we have a 3-month contract with them. That's done through a memorandum of understanding, a request for proposal. So we'll say, we're looking for a school site for the 25-26 school year. These are the things we want them to do. They respond and say, we'll do this, plus we do this, this is what we charge. And we come to an agreement. The evaluation of that happens yearly when you renew that contract. So if it's not a contract that you were happy with, that you didn't think was good, then you seek a different request for proposal. Sometimes there's an extension built into the contract. We have, for instance, a great relationship with Syringa Hospital. They provide us with OT services, and they're great. They give us a great service. They work really well with us for our concerns and our needs, and so we have a statement in that contract that we'll just roll it over for the next year. It wouldn't be fiscally responsible for us to hire a full-time OT, and so hiring some hours from there is what we do for that occupational or that outside contract. Okay. That was a lot. I kind of did 3 and 4 together.
So I just have a couple questions.
Absolutely.
Like the school psych, are we still advertising for that though? Okay.
As a matter of fact, I have somebody who's going to a national conference. You all know her, Danny Blackwell, is going to a national conference next week.
The one you stole from us?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that one?
And she will be recruiting for Mountain View at that conference, so keep your fingers crossed.
And then secondly, where are the extra contracts posted? Like when we have MOUs and we have all these outside contracts, where do we have to post them publicly like all the other?
Generally, we post them to a site like, well, okay, 2 things there. So there can be a site that we can post it to. There's a couple of services that provide that for us, like job service. Like they're not the provider of the employee, but they'll hold the posting because they've got big mailing lists. Idaho School Board sometimes. It depends on the position.
I meant like once we have the contract already, like our contract with Tracy, where is that? Like we need something like that. Or all of those randoms.
In this office.
Okay.
That's so funny. I have a term for it. It's called the keeper of the S. And so then I will bring in, if I have a contract that's finished up and signed, I will take it to her and say, hey, keeper of the.
Do we have to post those publicly though? Okay.
No. Sorry.
Did you see how big my eyes got when you said that? Because I was like,
Lo
oh,
siento.
did I miss
No,
that?
we don't have to those.
Okay.
If they're over a certain amount, we don't have any that exceed that amount. There are also services. Okay. there used to be design bid build for like big projects. Sorry, I'm making this meeting long because I just have a lot of words.
Sorry.
So you used to go and you'd pay an architect. The architect would design your building, and then you would put it out for bid, and contractors would bid on it. And then the contractor who was selected would come to you and go, you know, you can't really build this. And so then you had overruns and expenses and whatever. That's just reality. And so there is a new process that's just been approved by the federal and the state levels, and that is where you put out a request for proposal, and it is a company who does the entire package. And that's a little bit what we're doing with our like speech and language and our additional speech and language and our psychological services, so that we don't have to do that expensive bid process over and over and over again.
But I think with Tracy being our only contract person, that we need to get something formal going with her.
Yes, again, so
Since we
outside contract that you handle, the only one that I don't oversee is the one that the board has with the board clerk. And so yes, I would encourage.
So is
some
that a
sort
chair
of
thing?
MOU.
Yes,
I will
we
work with the chair.
Okay.
So we
You
need-
already have one, so just
we
renewing
create-
that.
I technically do not have one because
doesn't
I am
have a contract.
appointed. I
Remember,
am
Higgins-
appointed,
Higgins
so
How do we
appointed
pay
her.
it?
Higgins did a MOU with me, so
Okay.
I will write you guys an independent contractor.
Or an MOU,
I will. I'll
if
be
that
happy to.
works.
MOU will work.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll get one
We
for
just
you.
need to renew it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problems.
Well, and I review it or the entire board reviews it?
Well, it'd be signed probably by the chair, between the chair and the clerk.
Okay. So
I
have the
submit
authority to
I
decide.
submit an invoice each month to be paid, if that's what you're asking.
I just think there probably needs to be something formal.
Excuse me for mentioning, this is sounding really close to executive session material.
I'm not executive session, I can't.
And you're still technically an employee though.
No, I am not.
Yeah?
No.
She's a contractor.
I am
Anyway,
a
but that's good.
contractor.
As long as we have that figured out with you two, we can move on. Sorry.
Hey, nice job, Trustee Dunn.
Yeah,
But
good
yes,
job.
I am a
Look at you.
contractor, I don't fall under executive.
I mean, I just like that
We
you were
don't
paying
care about
attention
our
to it.
feelings.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm just trying to, I'm all about why we have stuff in executive session.
Thank
That's
you.
true, that's true.
People have a right.
Sometimes I
That's
forget
true,
that there are
personnel
people sitting
stuff.
right over there.
Okay. Do you want to move on to Day on the Hill?
Just letting you know that Day on the Hill is Monday, February 17th and February 18th. I really encourage you that if you can make it happen, that you get down there. The legislators meet with you. I will also, I know that Region 2 is reaching out to our legislators to set up a separate meeting, like an individual one-on-one. You just go in one of the chambers and have a conversation with them. So it's the time.
And it's President's Day.
It's President's Day.
To my understanding, Charity sent you all an email, and I think she heard back from everyone, and you're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're always a rep. Way to go, P. Thank you.
I wish
That's
you guys
what-
would come with me someday. It's a really good learning experience, and it's nice to meet the legislators.
They're good. And then the final thing there is ISBA new board member workshops. They are for new board members, but anyone can attend. The dates are there and the content for those. You received an email about those as well. If you didn't get it or you need a new link, let us know.
All right. We good?
Oh.
Adjourn?
No, you don't want to adjourn, you just want to let
Just
the,
move into executive
you're
session?
gonna move into executive
I
session.
thought we adjourned an open meeting and then we go into, oh,
No,
okay.
just
We
move
kind
it,
of flipped
we're
it
gonna,
tonight.
just take a 5-minute recess, we're gonna move into executive session, and then, are you taking any action after executive session?
I don't,
Just let
We're
them
not-
know that there'll be no action.
no action. So, we gotta kick you out, guys. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
You have to vote to go into executive.
Well, I mean, no actions after.
But you should have done that. while-
Oh, let's make a vote.
You have- you
Go
have
into
to-
executive
You have
session.
to vote to go into executive session.
Aye.
As a roll call.
Aye.
Who made a motion?
Not entirely.
B makes a motion, John seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all vote aye.
Okay.
For what? I mean.
Go into
To go into
executive session.
Yeah.
There you go.